This is Dead Cells, which is basically on every platform. I'm specifically playing on Xbox One, and let's get going here. So I've played a bit, I made it through a number of the levels. This is a roguelite, procedural generated kind of world, so every time you play, every run you have is entirely different. There's a bit of a story here, but that doesn't really matter too much. So what's really interesting about this game is that you go around, you collect weapons, and when you die, you kind of lose everything and you have to restart. Except for basically new blueprints and so forth that you collect while playing, as this can be carried forward. And based on your abilities too, you may actually get to keep more than that. I get to keep a small sum of gold, as I'm getting just slaughtered here. So yeah, you go around room to room. Every time you play, everything is entirely different. The layout, the structure, the enemy, well, the enemies are kind of the same, but you get what I'm saying, just kind of the setup of where they are and how they interact. So as you can see, we've got this cool character. He's dead. There's a lot of references to him being dead, and you guys see a lot of his bodies piled up, especially as you move forward. Oh, here's a blueprint. Some of them are like instant upgrades, so you can actually improve items with red, because our main kind of sword is red, and that gives us a health boost and increases our damage. So yeah, we're dead. That's the whole theme of it. It kind of works into the story. We're going around and we're kind of killing things. I think it's actually very interesting. And there's like little fun secret rooms too, which are interesting. And you do have like body items as well, but their main items are in the left bottom corner there, as you can see. You got your primary weapons, and then you have secondary ones you can unlock, such as like a gauntlet that you can shoot fire out of. It's got a funny name to it. Or you can have like a ice bracelet kind of thing that, you know, kind of freezes enemies. And there's a fire one, and there's like all kinds of different weapons. I'm kind of doing really bad right now, to be honest. Distracted with chatting. I'm blown away by this game. You know, the concept is nothing too new, to be honest, but the way they do it is just so interesting, because look how every single area is just packed with little particle effects and damage, and there's just so much depth to it that I find really interesting. That's kind of a trap that I was kind of hoping this guy would go into it so I could show that off. And then you also unlock new abilities as you go forward. See, the vine isn't something that you would have right off the start. You actually have to make it to a certain area to unlock the ability to use the vine. And then the vine can help you get to places you couldn't normally get, which is interesting. And again, like, this is entirely different from the last time I played it or the time before I played it. And it's strangely addictive too, in the sense that you can keep going on this and you don't really get bored. And again, look at the visuals in the background as like the enemies fall apart and things break and everything shatters. It looks so cool. And it feels lively, despite being like a pixel game. There's a lot of depth there, and you can see the damage, and you can see the kind of movement on the creatures and the characters. He's got like a breathing to him. And it's that extra level of detail that I really appreciate in these types of games, because it makes it something more interesting than it normally is. I should also mention that you can fast travel to different points based on the teleporters that you unlock in the areas. And then you move forward to different locations. There's also special bosses that come into play too. And an example of this is like the Death Ranger in another area. So yeah, they're kind of a cool little creature or character that you can fight, and that's just an example of it. So as you move forward to different areas and different places to visit, you basically meet this guy. And he allows you to spend your cells. So your cells are what you've earned during each area. And these can go to things like where you can hold more money when you die, you can have a random item when you die, there's different like random things, you can summon a certain weapon off your blueprint, and it's really interesting, and he's got that whole thing going on. And then there's this guy where you get a mutation, so you can choose one of these options to kind of, you know, improve your character as you go. There's a limit. Oh, here's the reference I was mentioning where it's like, oh look, they look like me, oh. Yeah. And then you can fill up your flask, so you can, you know, heal and stuff and keep going there. And then it's off to the next area. And each area has its own theme, and I'm really impressed by just how dynamic and different every single area is. And yet, you know, it's completely random in how it's designed and set up, like, you know, using the procedural generation. So not truly random, but a bunch of distinct little set pieces. And then you get little bits of story riddled throughout it, because it's apparently an island that continues to shift, and there's people that like talk to you and stuff. It's very interesting in that regard. I don't know, I just think it's a very interesting game, and it's the first one of this type that I really do. I've really had a great time with it, because I think it's beautiful, and I think it's really different. And again, I play like just a ton of these roguelite indie titles all the time. So getting something that's a little bit different is a nice little surprise for me. Let's put it that way. I'm gonna jump down here. You get these like gruesome looking characters. It's kind of awesome. Ow. And obviously combat looks sleek and cool. You kind of like roll around, do all these different moves. Usually I'd have a gauntlet by now, but I haven't come across one, so that's not helping me. It feels smooth and dynamic. Ow. I don't think I've played a game quite like this. Okay, there we go. Now I've died, and you're gonna get to see that whole restart going. And I don't really feel bad about dying in this. Sure, it kind of sucks when you have a good combination going of items and that, or you really buff up your health or buff up your items. But yeah, you don't really feel like you're at a total loss every time you start again. And you gotta kind of see like the new things you've collected in these little jars. That guy notes your progress and what you've accomplished while you've been playing, so that's kind of neat. Jeez. And then you just keep going along, mashing things. I think it's kind of awesome. I should also mention to make sure you do the ground pound every time you go down into a lower level. That way you're not getting stunned and lose health. But yeah, it's a very interesting title, and I'm trying to go like fast and quick so that it looks really cool. But normally I'd be a little bit slower to kind of conserve my health. Rolling along here. Whoa. I don't know, I think it's a very different kind of game, and it feels familiar to those that like this style of roguelite and playing again and again and trying to get better stuff and gear. But it does so in a way that makes it helps make it stand out compared to other similar titles, and I think that's really neat. And there are just a ton of different areas to explore. Like, you'd just be shocked at all the different sections you come across. And it's kind of just really random too, because you never know what you're gonna find as you're coming along here. I really need that health up. And it's just sleek and it's quick. I'll pay the gate for this. A nice bonus. I don't know, I'm having a really good time with this one, and just playing it over and over again. Like, I'm not the hugest fan of Roguelite. Let's give it a whirl. You know, oh, that looks so cool. But I think this one really does it well, and it does so differently, which is nice. It's not just the same sort of run through a castle and die. They've actually added some dynamic elements to it, and giving you a good sense of progress and goals. And it looks so cool too. Like, I mean, look at this. There's so much depth in every single picture. It's amazing that they had the time to sit there and make every single area truly look distinct as you're playing through it. Like, every set piece in every different area had to like come together and look good and smooth, and this is just the spooky one. And they somehow delivered that really well. Okay, let's go down. Woo. That's fancy. Whoa! Nice. See, as my health grows and I get extra abilities. Yay, more souls! So that's kind of like an example of another secret area. Obviously we saw one earlier, but this is a little bit different. I guess I'll show off the teleportation. And we're just good to go. And it's like, it's so smooth. And it really does just look great. Like, that art style is really going to carry this thing for years. I think this is going to look good, you know, way down the road. I do wish I had a secondary gauntlet, though. This is weird. It's like, usually I come across one all the time, so I'm going to try to go faster. I need the gardener's key. Oh, great. Mine's coming in to help. And yeah, it's just like, you never know what you're going to come across and how things are going to change, or what sort of beautiful terrains you're going to have to fight things in. And I think it really does keep it fresh. And a lot of fun. Oh, these guys are shielded. I don't want to deal with that. That's not good. Gotta move across this. But you're seeing like the different types of enemies. Oh crap. No! That you might face. Or the things that might kill you. And it's just dying, going back, coming back, fighting more, and getting better. See, that's like one thing I don't like about these, is that like you have to sit there and restart from nothing, even though you got cool things. And then, see, that aspect's definitely not for everyone. Grab that. But I mean, over time, as you get upgrades and you conquer things, it definitely will feel like you're progressing, which is nice. And one thing that really truly does help, that I've mentioned a couple times, is the fact that you know, every area is completely fresh. I never have a problem where I'm like, oh, I've already been here. Nah, it feels awesome every time going through this place. You feel like a badass just cutting everyone away, especially as you learn and kind of fine-tune your abilities in this. Finally! So yeah, it's kind of like, I don't think it's called the Infinity Gauntlet, but it's something like that. It's got a funny little reference. Move along. I'm just like blown away by how much everything changes. I don't know how they managed to do this. It must have taken them forever to, like, you know, a lot of time to get every area set up like it is. And while we've seen a lot of the first section, keep in mind that like every single area has a similar theme of being something completely different and fresh. That arrow thing is just badass. Yeah, it cuts those guys up. And you kind of get ammo from killing people. So yeah, if things are rough when you start out, just keep in mind, you know, the more you kind of go through it, the easier and the more you're going to get things. I'm going to deal with this guy. Ah, see? You get stunned if you don't do the pop down. This is one of the little tricks I picked up by playing this over and over again and dying multiple times. To the toxic sewers. And you know, new things appear the more you go, and they sprinkle in new little details all the time. What's up, man? Almost got that additional health flask. They're probably like, wow, this guy's such a dick, comes in here, breaks all these doors all the time. Fill me up, even though I was already filled up. But it gives you health, so you might as well do it every single time you come through. And it's nice that it keeps track of what you're actually doing, so you can see your progress. Like, you're not playing this game very long per run, but you are actually getting a lot of gameplay out of this because you're doing so many runs in order to try to accomplish, you know, whatever it takes to kind of win. Terrifying. These sewers are gorgeous and deadly at the same time. Ow. Trying to do that slam technique. which is not working for me. That zombie's tough. Whoa, it follows me! I jump right into acid. Anyways, that's Dead Cells. Beautiful game, just gorgeous, and a lot of fun.